speaker, CA Srinivasan sir, to come on dais, please. Can every one of you to move forward, please? There is a Tamil proverb, Yadum Ure Yavarum Kelir. As a professional, we have to keep our sights in addition to the geographical boundaries, beyond the geographical boundaries a country like India. So we have been getting lot of suggestions that the sort of opportunities in some foreign countries should be explored and presented. And obviously we cannot present each and every possible country's profile unless we have a concrete and confirmed opportunities available for members, because we are not we are serving the members. Obviously we have to do a lot of homework before making a country specific presentation. So today we have identified the opportunities both in as a professional, as an employment, as a business potential. We have identified Australia as a country, and we have with us our Srinivasan sir, a chartered accountant, and who has settled in Australia for over 2 decades to share his experience and expertise on opportunities available for members of our institute in a country like Australia. He is currently the CEO and Director of the Jewellery Group, a national retail chain in Australia, part of Global Diamond Group. He was a global business controller of CPE Insurance Australia Limited, a global financial services company and the top 20 corporates in Australia. During his 23 years with his global company, he was involved in acquisition and expansion in Asia Pacific. Srini sir has over 25 years of senior general management and finance experience across manufacturing, mining, financial services companies in Australia, India and South Africa. Apart from being a member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, he is also a member of the CPE Australia and associate of the Institute of Company Secretaries of India. And at the professional level and in the Australian level, CPE Australia Professional Qualification Advisory Board, and he is also a Victoria Divisional Council representative, and he is also a former chairman of CPE Australia's Victorian Corporate Committee and honorary lecturer of Financial Services Accounts Association. With this brief introduction, I hand over the proceedings to Srinivasan sir. And before proceeding further, we will play the motto song of the Institute. I request everyone to stand up as a mark of respect for
Yaesha Sukteshu Jagrati Yaesha Sukteshu Jagrati Namam 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 Purusho Nirvimana Nirvimana Tadeva Shukram Tadeva Shukra Brahma Brahma Tadeva Prita Muccheva Prita Mucchave Tasmin Lokaha
Yes, good evening. Very fond memories of this place, which I've been sort of frequenting for several years in the past. So, anyway, I thought I'll share some of my experience in Australia with you people. So this is going to be an interactive session. So if anyone has any questions, we can talk about it. But initially, I'll put some slides on a few information about Australia generally. So, and everyone thinks Australia means cricket. So he was talking about cricket there. So we can talk about cricket for a long time, and especially when Indians came there and beat the Australians recently, which I was longing for the last 29 years in Australia. So that was a sweet revenge, like. So, in terms of engaging in Australia, you have to first talk about the rise of Australia. Australia is a sort of a very young country. It's only about 220 years old. So it's not like India where thousands and thousands of civilizations were there. So because it's a young country, the opportunities and the prospects are much higher compared to whether it's a development of roads or infrastructure or whatever it is. So as a young country with a lot of potential, a lot of resources, there's more opportunities there. And yes, as I mentioned, Australia is sort of resource-rich country. I'll give some details about the resources and the number of mines. Australia is known for its mines. The number of mines in Australia is one of the biggest in the world. And so we dig and sell it to all parts of the world. So that's how we make money there. So, and this is quite fortunate for a country which is the size of US, and the population is only 25 million. So 25 million is your Bombay or something like that, like here. So imagine, so we all live in the coast. The whole middle part of Australia is empty. There's hardly anyone there. So in that way, they used to call that as an unlucky country. But again, the economy, ups and downs, all of the things happen. So it's not that lucky anymore, but it's still lucky there. So mining is one of the main things. Apart from that, Australia, as you know, it's called down under. We are very far away from the rest of the world. So in that case, there can't be any manufacturing activities. For 25 million, what can you manufacture? And even if you manufacture something, where do we send it? To come out of Australia, it takes 6 hours by flight, just from one end of Australia to another end of Australia. Then you have to come out, and the first country is Indonesia. So we can't export. So the main thing Australia survives in the services sector. And so that's one of the main GDP growth of the country. And that's where we need capabilities, we need people. Because clearly they have identified that only migration can help Australia. So if we stop migration, we'll go backwards. So that's the situation we have now. So every year we have something like about 160, 180,000 people we take on migration. And so we need population. Without population, we'll perish. So there's no turning back at all now. Because once you have the roads and the airports and everything, you need people to fly in, fly out and stuff like that. Otherwise, you can't survive. So that sort of thing happens, and based on that, services sector develop really well. And so there's huge capability for everyone, not only for the Indians, for the Chinese and other people also, in terms of opportunities in Australia there. I want to sort of give some facts about Australia. Being a small country, Australia escaped the global financial crisis. So we are the only country in the world, maybe one or two other countries, who escaped the global financial. So we had 27 years of positive GDP growth. So we didn't have what is called as a recession at all there. And when the rest of the world, 2008, 2009, were having the recession, we grew at the rate of about 3% or 4%. So we maintained the 3%, 4% throughout the last 27 years. So that's one. So if you ask an average Australian, the global financial crisis, you won't know what we're talking about. That's how. One thing is we are far away from the actual scene, and second thing is we didn't feel that problem because we kept exporting iron ore again and again there. As I said, Australia is the largest exporter of iron ore. You name any country in the world, they'll have Australian iron ore exports. And one of the biggest companies in the world called BHP, which is based in Australia, and they dig and send thousands of ships every year to all parts of the world. And so iron ore is mined. So if the iron ore prices go up, Australia records a surplus in the GDP, and if the iron ore prices go down, we are in problems. But we have other exports too, like coal is another one. We export coal in large quantities, and copper. And one thing I was just mentioning to another person there, we have this uranium mine in Australia. We have something like 50% of the world's requirement in that mine. That's how big it is. But guess what? We haven't even opened the mine yet. So because there is not enough demand for uranium in the world. So having 50% of the world reserves, but we have not opened the mine yet. So the future is very good in that aspect. A lot of small businesses there. So obviously the local consumption is very low. So we need to export. There are about 51,000 approximately. Australian business export their goods and services across to the world. So laws are very fine. Yes, we do follow the English law, but because it's a small country, it is a small country in terms of the GDP, but big in size. And very modern, contemporary laws are there, and because of that, the red tape is not there at all. So you can just start a company very easily, and whether it's tax or anything, it's quite straightforward. Yes, over the years it's got complicated. We did the GST in 2000, and we fixed. The thing about Australia compared to say India is before we introduce anything, there's a huge consultative process there, and this consultative process has been taken very seriously, and based on that we implement the reforms. And so when GST was introduced, there was big hue and cry like any other country, and the reforms was that we should tax the consumption, not the income. So they took away about 15 to 35 taxes out and then put the GST. And at the time they made it clear that it has to be as easy as possible for the people to do it. So what they did was they did a flat rate, just one rate across everything. So that made it really easy compared to some of the issues we have here. So it was 10%, and then there was doubt about the politicians, because the politicians are the same everywhere, whether it's Australia or India or US. So they made a law that there should be some really serious requirement if you want to change the percentage. So your percentage cannot be changed just because some new political party come to power can't change the GST rate. So the GST rate for the last 19 years remains at 10%. So which is very good. Whereas in New Zealand, it has changed. It was 10 initially, then became 12.5, and now it's about 15%. So that's one thing good that the GST has sort of settled in nicely. We drove away the so-called the black economy quite well. Still some black economy exists, but yeah, to a large extent, it's gone now there. And quite a lot of people get into the universities there, so the working population is quite knowledgeable, and So even at the clerical level, you find degree holders there or people who work in the tertiary industry. So what they have done is they have two systems of tertiary study. One is the universities like here, and the second one is called the TAFE, which is a further education course. So if people don't get enough marks to go to the university, they can go into the TAFE sector and then they do it in the TAFE sector. That's more 1 year or 2 year certificate course or associate diploma course or something like that instead of 3-year graduation course. So because of that, tertiary participation is quite high there. Education at the lower level is free for us, and because of that, the enrollment is very high, actually, and whether it's kindergarten or primary school, it's quite high there. And so we are one of the third highest in the world in terms of education enrollment. Australia has also invented few things there. So you'll be surprised at some of the things we put there. The black box was invented in Australia. And the bionic ear, we have a huge company called the Cochlea, and they have this bionic ear implementation. So the whole hearing aid, the whole world is by Australia now, actually. And there's a competition which came up in the US, and this Australian company is so big that they bought that competition also now. So this bionic ear is in a very advanced state there. Wi-Fi was invented in Australia, so that's one thing. And Google Maps, they had the technology there to do that. So Australia had some inventions there, and scientifically, because the government gives a lot of grants to the universities to do research, and even in health science, like things like diabetes, they're quite advanced in their research there. So a lot of inventions have come there. I'll have to say this to you guys, most of the people who know about that. Not only in performing, they stage the events very well. And I live in Melbourne, and Melbourne keeps calling themselves as the sporting capital of the world. You give any event, they will conduct it as smoothly as possible. That's how it is. And the crowd will be enough, whether it's at the Melbourne Cricket Ground, or we conduct the Grand Prix every year, the Motor Grand Prix. Then we have the Australian Tennis Open in Melbourne, and then of course the cricket, and then so many other events keeps taking place there. And again, the performance of the team, I don't have to come about that. Hockey Australia is number one in the world, both in women and men, and both Melbourne and Sydney hosted the Olympics. And cricket is there, and Australian Tennis Open is one of the things. Then swimming in Australia is pretty good in that because we have seas everywhere. Because of the whole population, the Australians gone. We have 25 million, out of which about 300,000 live in the centre of Australia. The balance 24.7 million live in the coast. There's a statistic saying that about 90% of the population live 100 kilometers from the beach. That's how Australia is. So the whole middle is empty. There is nobody there. In terms of the business, the top 5 export markets are China. We have an FTA, the free trade agreement with China, and we have Japan, another free trade agreement. Then the third is the US, then Korea, and India is the 5th largest export market for Australia. And unfortunately, the FTA will be sort of discussing. It's not sort of complete yet with India. And once it's completed, it will throw up huge opportunities for the Indian market there. And as I mentioned before, the top 5 exports are iron ore and the concentrates, coal, education. Education is it's a $20 billion market for us. Something like about 1.5 million students study every year in Australia, mainly from China and India. So that's how big it is there. So it's a huge education market. we sort of compete with the US and the UK in that market there. And natural gas is another one around. We have plenty of natural gas around Australian things, both offshore and onshore. And so there's a huge industry that's kind of set up for natural gas. And tourism, because we have good beaches and some natural things. So the tourism is one of the top 5 export markets for us. So what's in it for professionals who wants to come to Australia or who is thinking about Australia? It's a very modern country, quite developed, advanced, and sophisticated country. It's developed in such a way that because it's a new country, you can really work on it in terms of development. For instance, Melbourne used to be the capital of Australia, 50, 60 years back, and there's always a competition between Melbourne and Sydney, and which is the best city. So they decided that Sydney doesn't like Melbourne, and Melbourne doesn't like Sydney. So they decided that they should have a capital in the middle of Melbourne and Sydney. So they invented this city called Canberra, and then constructed a parliament there, and then constructed a city there, and then put that as a capital there. So if you look at Canberra, it will be a brand new 40-45-year-old city, like our Chandigarh here, to some extent here. So everything is professional, whether it's Australia is very good in financial services. They have some of the best practices in the world in terms of financial services. The banks are very good. Nothing really happened to us during the GFC. The banks had a very good ratio. They performed things like NPA or non-performing loans are well under control. I think it was less than 0.5% or something like that. That's how it is protected there. And that's because not only because of the way they're lending, but because of the processes. The processes are very perfect. And recently we had some problems in the banks, and then they appointed a royal commission, and they unearthed some practices which were not correct, and they rectified it immediately. So they keep on having a look at the banks and the insurance companies and the fund managing, and quite an advanced setup. Some of the software used there, the fintech software, of really world class there. So because of that, the setup as a whole is quite good. Lifestyle, excellent lifestyle, and it has got, I won't say it's for everyone. There are people, very few people comparatively, who will live on the roads and things like that. But generally, because it's only 25, there is a good social service system. There is a dole there, and there is a sort of a support by the government from various agencies and stuff like that. So lifestyle, 5-day week, 2 days holidays, people enjoy. So that sort of lifestyle they maintain there. Naturally, they're really blessed. It's not that they earn this lifestyle. It's blessed because they have terrific coastal things like beaches. Everyone goes to the beaches on the weekends and stuff like that. And more than sort of developing, it's sort of developed on its own, and that's what they use there actually. And actually, it's a rough climate. If you look at it, then these are all the pluses. The minuses wise, we are sitting down on a ozone layer. There's a hole in the ozone layer in Australia, and that causes the ultraviolet rays to come to Australia. So there's a skin cancer rates is quite high in Australia, and so it's unfortunate, but that's the price you pay for having so many beaches and stuff like that. And the country is very rough. If you look at the Melbourne and the Sydney, and then go and if you travel between Melbourne and Sydney, you can see how rough it is. It's rocks and everything. And from Sydney to Perth, it's about 6,000 kilometers, 3 hours time difference. So to go in a train, it takes about 3 days to go from Sydney to Perth. And they say some of the it goes through a desert, not in the like a sand desert, but rocks and type of deserts. There are some of the most poisonous animals live in those deserts. So there is snakes or whatever it is, it lives there. So that's how it is. No water, nothing in that kind of places. They maintain a very active lifestyle because of the beach, the water sports and related stuff, and excellent university and school education. Most of the Indians I've seen come to Australia mainly for this, for the kids to have an education. It's really good. I went to Australia and had my lovely child accounting thing here, qualification here. And when I went there, they went and said they don't know anything about this CA qualification, and it's not even equal to a local degree because they're not recognized or they're not looked into. So I had to do the degree there, and then did the CPE and the MBA subsequently. And so because of that, I was involved in the education system there. It's really good. And some of the practices they have, their reforms, what they do, how they're always one step ahead of what's happening in the world in terms of the tertiary education. It's really good. I mean, as an Indian, I've studied here, and then you look at it there. It's that good there. Whether it's in schools or whether it's in the only thing is the schools, they're not very serious till year 9, and then from year 10, 11 and 12, they catch up the world standards there. And that's why you see a lot of dropouts in year 12 there. And but the quality of the education is really good there in Australia. Multicultural population. Nobody can call Australia home. All of us can call Australia home because there's nobody called Australian there. There are some indigenous people who've been there for the last 1,000 years, but they are only about few thousands in numbers. And the English, when they came to Australia, conveniently packed them off and then sent them to the middle of Australia. So-called convicts, they have done that. So most of them are immigrants. So I would have come to Australia about 25 years back, whereas an English fellow would have come about 50 years back. A Greek person would have come about 60 years back. So that sort of thing there. And the Chinese and the Indians are really catching up the population. I think Indians are about 2% of the Australian population now. So when I went, it was about, Melbourne had about 100 Indians, that's all now. Now we have about 600,000 Indians in Melbourne alone. So because of the multicultural population, the buzz is there in the countries, every city there. Whether you have the cultural activities or whether you have the religious activities. So near my house, about 5 kilometers from my house, we have a Buddhist temple, a mosque and a Hindu temple. So yeah, and of course lots of churches also. So the multicultural helps a lot. So we have people from 175 countries settled in Australia there. So that's good to bring up the kids and stuff like that. It's quite nice. And security, this was a bit of an issue 4 or 5 years back, and a lot of people when I come here, they ask me about the so-called racism in Australia. The first question I ask them is, does racism present in India? But it's I went to Bombay, and if I don't speak Hindi, that's it. They don't answer me at all. So whether that's a sort of a subtle type of racism or what, but there is bound to be racism everywhere. And so the question is, it's a relative term, and to what extent there is a racism there. And the racism doesn't come because of the color or anything like that. It's more because you take our opportunity. And so that's how the racism has come in Australia right now. So they have a fear that the other people would come and take our jobs or land or whatever it is. And so that gets some sort of a feeling, insecure feeling, and that's how it develops there. And so is it prevalent? Yes, it is prevalent. To what extent? I've traveled quite well, so if you compare to the US, I think about 5% of what's happening in the US. So Australia is always copies US. They want to copy US all the time. So in terms of fashion and everything, it's about 3-5 years behind US. So if something is happening in US, then 3 years later it will happen in Australia. That sort of thing, which is good in one way. Like we don't want to be on the top and do everything there. So security-wise, it is. I would say it's not an issue, but now you can be, if you're at the wrong place at the wrong time, you're gone. So I don't think that should be an issue. One advantage we have is being remote. For anybody to travel. Somebody mentioned this to me, that US asked Australia whether they want the anti-ballistic missile. And Australian did some research and then said, no, we don't require it. It's because I believe a heated missile can travel only for 6 hours. And to strike Sydney and Melbourne, you have to travel 7 hours minimum from outside Australia. So they said we don't require any anti-ballistic missiles, or whatever it is, Patriot or whatever it is there. So national security is absolutely not an issue at all. Nobody is going to bother to come to Australia to attack Australia. Sports, it's a destination, so I don't have to tell a lot. People love sports. They will go. If there is a football match there called the Aussie Rules Football, which is a combination of everything. There's soccer and you hit each other. Everything happens there. Every week it happens. And 2 suburbs will play the match in Melbourne. There will be a crowd of 90,000 people at the Melbourne cricket ground. People are mad at sports. Their weekend pastime is sports. And so they have to go. All the children have to attend the sports. There is no choice at all. So if you are in a school, you have to attend some sport or other. So such a sport-mad country. That doesn't mean they are all fit. It's because unfortunately the beer and other stuff stops them from being fit. But such a sport-mad country, you can become. That's why my feeling is that's the reason why they are very friendly. And you can strike a conversation with anyone talking about sports. That's how easy it is there. Career in Australia. Yes, about 10 years back, there was a memorandum of understanding developed between CPE Australia as well as the Institute of Chartered Accountants in Australia for chartered accountants from India. So they can sort of come through that, not like what it was before. And there are about, in Melbourne Road, there are about 400 Indian chartered accountants are there. There's a chapter there. And Melbourne will have about 400, Sydney will have about 300, 400, and Perth and like other cities also have there. So there's a sort of sprinkling of CAs there. And they've all enrolled into either CPA or the CA NZ. So, and it's quite easy now. You have to do 2 subjects and then you become a CPA Australia program holder there. And same thing with the CA NZ. How do you come to Australia? Yep. There is 3 ways you can come to Australia. One is a permanent residency. Funnily, the recent route for Indian CAs seems to be India, Middle East, Australia. We get so many Indian CAs from Middle East. And maybe they're thinking that Dubai is over or whatever it is there. I'm not sure about that, but the way they are coming over from Middle East, there are lots of people coming over from Middle East who are Indian CAs. But the problem they have is their experience in Middle East is not well valued in Australia, because being a no tax country and things are very easy and stuff like that. But financial services is very good. Their experience are sort of transferable. Whereas in other areas it's a bit of an issue. But yes, we can. There used to be a tendency for Australian employers to ask for a local experience in the past. And now it's slowly changing. they, because of the globalization of the business, they seem to accept experience in other well-developed companies or top companies and things like that. So there is a permanent residency under the skill category, and accounting is part of the skill category there, so it's one. Then some employer can sponsor a visa there, and they can take it for 2 years, and then during those 2 years you can apply for a permanent residency and then settle in Australia. And obviously there's a business visa like in other countries. You pay $5 million and then you invest and then develop a business there and then come over there. So that's another way of coming to Australia. I think I've said enough about Australia, so I can ask if you can ask any questions, I can answer, or any particular area where you think you're not sure or you need some clarification or something like that, I can address those areas. Or if there are any areas where you want me to touch or explain what is happening in Australia, I can mention that. Anyone?
Students going for higher studies there for 2 years, they get student visa. Afterwards, they say that they get 2 years temporary visa. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's correct. Yeah. There used to be a program where about 4 or 5 years back, you can come on a student visa and then convert that into a permanent resident. But that was so highly misused, particularly from the Indian population there. And what happened? They said if you do any course, so they come and did a cooking course and then became a permanent resident. And so they wanted to stop that. So there was a lot of irregularities were happening. So they stopped that, and then now what they have done is there is a 2-year course. It should be a minimum of 2 years. So you do that course, and then then after that they give you a temporary visa. During that time you apply for a permanent residency, and so it takes 2 years. So during that time apply and then see whether you are successful or not. So far,
Temporary visa is definitely given or it is optional?
it's given to the most of the people, unless otherwise they find that what the course you did either is not part of the wanted list, the skill list. There is a sort of a list which Australian government maintains, which is where we need people, in which skills we need people, whether it's accounting or any other doctor or engineer or whatever it is there. And so if your course is related to that skill, like for instance accounting, so people come and do, there's a course called Master of Professional Accounting. So they do a 2-year course, and then they wait because accounting is in the skill, so you can apply for a permanent resident. So they apply for a permanent resident, and they get a temporary visa. During temporary visa, you can work there, and so that helps in your permanent resident visa also, that you have been employed or you're unemployable or whatever it is there. And then your permanent resident visa is determined the success or failure of it. At this stage, I would say it's a 50-50 chance, and where if you're employed in a good company and you're well likely to get a permanent visa, PR visa there. But where you're not employed and your postgraduate course was not very good or something like that, yeah, there may be a rejection. And so it is like that. And unfortunately, the migrant intake every year keeps varying. Sometimes it's 160, it's 180, it's 170, and that 160, 180,000, all these things is a total one. Inside that you have 10,000 for refugees, 10,000 for families, 10,000 for these various subcategories are there. So it really depends on how much is available for the skill category. Skill category is the maximum. So there is a possibility there. So not many people have, from whom I know, obviously I don't know all the people there, but most of the people are lucky to get inside that
What it means for practicing chartered accountants?
Sorry?
What it means for practicing chartered accountants in terms of assignments from Australia, be it our outsourcing kind of assignments.
That's an interesting one.
No, actually, the reason why I am asking is there was a statement by Institute of Internal Auditors office bearer saying that India has got a skill where even the internal audit can be outsourced. So that being the statement made, what is the Australia's view? How do you view Indian chartered accountants?
Australia was initially very suspicious of this outsourcing, and they didn't want to sort of take the risk. They felt there is enough risk in that. I'm going back 10, 15 years. I remember a lot of my friends having business, and they wanted to get something from outsource. A lot of Australian Indian companies set up a shop there, but they were not prepared, and so they hesitated. But later on, the local cost was very high, and then the cost differentials kept rising. So they resorted to they are forced to resort to outsourcing, and now the extent of the outsourcing is very high. And so coming to the accounting part, there are there are few companies in Australia. In Australia, you got the taxation. You have to do a tax return, things like that. Everyone has to do a tax return if your income is over a certain limit. So most of the tax returns are done in India now for those companies. I'm talking about in tens of thousand numbers tax return done in India. So basically they have the software here, they scan the receipts and send it here, you prepare the tax return, it goes back there, you just reviews it and then files a return. That sort of thing is there. So that's for the certificate, that's the practicing side. And things like internal audit is not developed that much, but systems-wise, IT-wise, there's a huge outsourcing happening. In my previous company, I was involved in outsourcing. I'm talking about an $18 billion company. We outsourced to Philippines in huge numbers. We set up an office in Philippines for 4,000 people, and also the entire insurance systems across there to Philippines. So the general outsourcing has reached quite a high level now, not like in the past. People like the top accounting firms like PwC and Waters, Ernst & Young, all the four or five, everyone outsources to India. Accenture has got a huge outsourcing unit here in India, and most of the Australian work is done in India. So the big companies have been doing. So next is the middle and the small companies. They have hesitated now. So some Australians have set up their outsourcing. They are doing outsourcing within Australia to the companies and stuff like that. But I think there are laws also which prevents data from going outside of Australia. So because it's a privacy, because as I said, the laws are very highly developed. For instance, if there is a workers' compensation insurance, you can't send the employee details to outside Australia, or not even look at it. You don't have to physically send it, but can't even look at it. That sort of law is there. So that's a part of it is happening. And chartered accounting wise, it's been done on the chartered accounting, but not on the audit services. Audit services is still there, done by there. So I'm not sure I've answered your question or not, but I would say it's in the 30% stage in terms of accounting. And legal is a huge outsourcing that's been done from Australia, mainly because of the cost. So I believe a junior lawyer, as his job is or her job is to sort of take the case and then prepare the case. We have the same British system of law. So whether it's in India or Australia, the basic system is the British system. So they've been outsourcing that to India. So they prepare the case and send it back to Australia, and from there the barrister or whoever it is argues in the court.
So obviously there also it takes years.
Sorry?
So obviously there also it takes years for a case to settle.
Correct. Well, as I said, they were shy in the beginning. They were shy in the beginning. So, but now it's, if you ask me how it has improved, it has significantly improved. They wouldn't even look at it 5, 6, 8 some years back. So now they are looking at it, getting a code, and then see whether it is good to do that or not. So it's happening there.
With regard to that CPE,
Yeah, sorry.
with regard to that CPE Australia, do you have to do it here and go there or try applying for work there, or do you go there and
You can write exams in India now. Never used to be in the past, but now you can write exams in India, and it is a distance education.
so it's valid here in Australia? It's still
CPE Australia. CPE Australia conducts exam in India. So there are about, last time I heard it was about 1,000 CPAs who are residing in India.
CPA Australia is useful in Australian market, right?
Yeah, CPE Australia is a big in Australian market. The biggest accounting association in Australia. It's got about 160,000 members.
And my question is actually, if I want to stay in India and do some Australian,
Degree,
no,
professional qualification.
service to Australia, it is not possible. I mean, the possibilities are a bit remote, correct?
Well, there are two ways of doing it. One is, if there, for instance, in my previous company, we set up a company in Bombay, an insurance company. We had a collaboration with a Bombay company, and for that we recruited an accountant who has a CPA Australia. So because he has to produce all the accounts under the Australian law for the company, so we recruited here. So if you do a CPA Australia or any Australian qualification, one is you can work for an international company, because CPA Australia is well recognized throughout the world. So you can work for an international company. And second thing is, you cannot practice from India. You have to practice in Australia. They don't allow you to practice outside Australia and do Australian tax returns and stuff like that. So you have to be there. And so you should have a local person who has a certificate of practice, and then you can work behind for that person.
You said that two subjects.
Is it a prerequisite for us to apply for job? CPA or
No, there's no prerequisite to apply job. I think the CPA rule is, you can go to the website, I can tell that, is you should be a chartered accountant from India. You should have 5 years experience in India, working experience, and that's enough. So then you can apply for a membership there. They give you an associate membership. Then you do these 2 subjects, and then you become a CPA membership there.
can we apply for job from here, or we should be there to apply for
Well,
after 2 years?
you can apply from jobs here, but obviously they want to see you. They want to interview you. So the chances are better if you apply from there. That doesn't mean that I've seen people applying for jobs from here as well as from Middle East, and then coming over there. Recently, somebody was working in Deloitte's here, and they moved to Deloitte's in Melbourne. And so yeah, that's why I said it's transferable. They're quite open now. Any big companies or big firms or whatever you work here, you can easily move across there.
Without a big four experience, is the Indian experience recognized in Australia?
Yeah, that's why I said depends on the companies. If it's a small company, they won't look at it. But if it's like Deloitte or PwC or some fund managers like Goldman Sachs or UBS or whatever it is, that's not a problem at all. So anyway, they do that. So it depends on that.
Start like a fresher.
Sorry?
Or is it like can you start like a fresher out there? Like you still have an experience there, but it's not approved.
Yeah, correct.
Will it be like a fresher?
Right, it is, the problem we have now is the accounting. The jobs are slowly getting saturated, the job market there. So, so what differentiates you from other people, that's what matters. Whether you have the same qualification, same experience, then they go look into other things like whether you have system experience and this experience and that and things like that. That makes it great. So if it's a big company, whether it's a multinational company or whether it's chartered firms or things like that, it is easy to transfer those experience across. It's well valued there now.
Is there a difference between the person who studies full CPA of Australia or an Indian chartered accountant doing the CPA?
The Indian Chartered Accountants, first I have to tell you, there is a third association called the National Institute of Accountants in Australia. That was started, I don't know whether I can mention somebody who in India is similar to that. There's a sort of trying to, these two, CPA Australia and CA Australia are, professional qualified. These people said, no, even if you have a degree, you can join our association. So they have a huge association there. And so what they have done is people who cannot do CPA and CA, they have taken that in their association. So I know a person from India who was a chartered accountant from India. So he came there and he was not prepared to do CPA or CA. So he joined this association and through that he started practicing now there. And he's got a good practice now, but he's not a CPA or CA.
He cannot sign any of the...
He can sign.
He can sign.
Okay. But the question is, what sort of people would come to you if you don't have that? It's exactly like here, whether they have, whether they are recognized as a proper accountant to sign and certify. So he may be doing, he does mainly tax returns and stuff like that.
So also Indian chartered accountants forum, we have to set up an overseas branch. What areas of practice would be beneficial from where this benefits to?
Yeah, well, first thing is if you have an Indian chartered firm, you have to find a local partner. And once you find a local partner, then you can start a firm, whatever name it is. And here in CA you're allowed to practice, advertise here. In Australia you can advertise heavily in CPAs. You can even run TV ads. I've seen people running TV ads for that. And that's because of the open society reforms and stuff like that right now. So yeah, you can, that company can practice. And accounting, audit is sort of slowly getting reduced there. In fact, there is a law, or there's some reforms that's coming to see. There was a question asked, why do we have to audit every year? Why can't we do it every 3 years? That sort of consultation is going on there. What you're going to find every year doing the same audit again. Like by the time you finish the audit, the next year comes and things like that, at least to the smaller companies. So they're thinking for smaller companies whether we can have every 3-year audits. Started thinking about it. So audits wise, the opportunities are very limited. But in Australia, as CPAs can also become a financial planner. So there's a huge opportunity there. Because Australia, we have a superannuation system like your Provident Fund. It's a beautiful system which is going to take care of your retirement, post-retirement things. And most of Australia put money right from, they put 9.5% every month and it accumulates and things like that. So it's a quite sizable, I think the total superannuation is something about $245 trillion sitting there in people's superannuation money. And that superannuation funds need to be audited. And people like advice for that, where to invest that money. That's why the financial services business is huge in Australia, extremely huge.
It's the expertise of an actuary, whether the accountants can
there is an actuarial institute there.
Yeah.
So they will not allow you to come into their profession.
Ideally, actuary's job is that basically to do that
Valuation.
investment.
But accounting part of it, or no, actuaries decide whether there is enough money in the kitty to pay back all the members. So they sort of do some statistical analysis saying that in 10 years' time you may require this kind of money, and whether you have that money based on the interest and whatever investment income and things like that. But what I'm talking about is, suppose I have say $500,000 in my account, superannuation account. I have to invest that money. So where do I invest? Whether I invest in bank deposits or mutual funds or equity shares or bonds or whatever it is, you need a financial advisor for that. So the financial advising is a huge business. So CPA is one of the subjects as financial planning. And if you do that subject, you can become a certified financial planner and you can start giving advice about share purchase and stuff like that. So a lot of accountants are moving in that area as a financial planner, giving advice, investment advice. And so that's one. And the second thing is the mortgage broking also. Like everyone wants to buy a house in Australia, so they go for mortgage. So you can become a mortgage broking business. So they've all diversified slowly into other areas like mortgage broking, financial planning, superannuation advice, superannuation audit, those kind of areas, and even systems also.
The majority of Indians, one business they are in.
Which of the Indians what business?
Yes.
One is IT. A lot of IT professions are there, and
What
business
business
they
they
are
are,
in?
but as a business,
as a business, not many Indians are in business. There are Indians in retail business there, and there in retail. So we have 100 shops around Australia. So apart from that, the Indians are more in a professional capacity. There are a lot of Indian CEOs there. Some of the biggest companies, they have an Indian CEO there, and a lot of CFOs, and accounting, IT people, a lot of IT people in various companies, big companies. And health is a huge area for us because Australia is an aging population, so huge money is poured into health. So a lot of Indians work in the health area. See, the thing, what happened in Australia is that we have now the second generation now. The first generations are our generation when we went there in the 90s. Now the second generation will come. All the second generation are in various fields there, extremely different fields there. Whether it's medicine or whether it is health-related field or whether it's architecture or whether it's so many fields are there. So they've been there. So the Indians are well spread. I think only the Chinese are in the business. If you look at it, at least about 30-40% of the Chinese will be in business. Whether it's small business, they'll be there. Indians wise, now they are more in working capacity as a professionals there.
How's Australia for like MBA programs and things like that?
Sorry?
How's Australia in terms of MBA schools, schools,
Well, I've done my MBA, and I consider MBA purely for your personal development. I don't think that MBA would fetch you a promotion or more money. Yes, it may fetch. I'm generalizing the statement. So as a personal development, it's a very good exercise, and that can, over a period of time, help you out. MBA study-wise is really good in Australia, extremely good. The course is very good. And I was told that it's only about 70% of the cost of the US course. And so in terms of doing the MBA and getting the benefit of the MBA, it's really good. But the question is whether it's going to get you a job, or if you're in a job, whether it's going to get you additional money or promotion or something like that. That's always a problem. Because the main thing we have is the opportunities. Opportunities are limited because of the 25 million population. Whereas in US you have 270 million population, we have only 1/10 of the US. So you can have only X number of jobs and X number of things. Having said that, Australia has got one of the lowest unemployment. We have about 4.8% unemployment there. And so we are not, a lot of people are employed somewhere or other. And so coming back to MBA is, the course wise is really good, extremely good. I would say it competes well with some of the mid-tier US courses. May not be the Harvards and the Stanford, but yeah, the mid-tier US courses every day. There are a couple of universities who are top-class universities. They figure in the Asian regions, they are one of the top ones. Yeah.
So how tough is this? You are talking about the PR. How tough is getting a citizenship after PR?
They have changed the citizenship. Previously, after 2 years after having a PR, you can get the citizenship. Now they have put some rules saying that it's about 3 to 4 years with certain number of days you have to be in Australia. But still you can get much faster than the green card and everything. I have to tell you here, I was coming here and somebody was running up and down to the US consulate here to get the visas, all those problems, H1B and all those things. Australia is, they got a quota from US that every year US will give 2,000 green card to Australia. Last year only about 550 were used. So that will give you the idea of, I don't think anybody from Australia will go to US, from a lifestyle perspective. And if it's from work, the work will get a visa and they will go there. It's more the other way around. Like from English, we have a huge number of people from England who would come there. They'll come for a holiday, they'll have a working holiday and settle down there because of the weather. Because one advantage in Australia compared to the reason why I chose is Australia doesn't have snow. The last thing I want to do is dig the snow and then start going to the office for the roads and stuff for that. Right? So we don't have the snow at all, and sunshine is quite good. And we got all sorts of climates in Australia. In Melbourne, it looks like a European country. It's quite cold in Melbourne during winter. In summer, it's quite warm and nice. And whereas Sydney is beautiful in terms of the weather, and Brisbane is like India, tropical. So one half of Australia is tropical, another half is because near to the Antarctic, it's cold and stuff like during winter. Yeah. So as I said, so there are no takers for the green card. And if you're an Australian citizen, you go to the US embassy, straight away they'll give the visa. You don't have to even stand in the queue and stuff like that. Now it's the ETA for Australians. If there's not able to give the visa in the US.
Do you have tie-up like India, CPE, Australia has a tie-up with the US or Canada, but you can go work?
Yeah. Based on this, I mentioned about the free trade agreement. That's one big advantage of the free trade agreement. That the professional courses are transferable. So Australia has got a free trade agreement with the US. So the American CPA and the Australian CPA are transferable. So Australian CPA is equal to American CPA and vice versa. Same thing with Japan, Singapore, all those places where we have free trade agreement. Looking for the time. Okay, we have time. Another thing you want to know about Australia? We will talk about cricket also, we can talk. Right? So,
How is the law, sir?
Loss.
laws, the lawyer profession or the law as it is? Both. Okay. As I said before, the laws are quite advanced because one advantage we have is we have a new country. So you guys have all tried around everywhere, and whatever changes have come, we have put it into our things. So our laws are much, because there's not enough loophole, because the British law or various laws, we have looked at it and then got the best out of all the law and then put it in another thing. Because the constitution is only 200 years old. We're not talking about 500, 600 years old constitution and things like that. And federation became only in 1900. It came there.
But ours is much
So-
more India.
Sorry?
India is much more India. Constitution.
Yeah, but we copied the British Constitution because ours is a mother's country for us. So, and even the Constitution keeps changing. It's easy to amend the Constitution in Australia compared to India there. So the laws are really good, but it's in the last 15, 20 years, they have complicated the law because of the political system. And each party want to do something different and things, so they added more complexity and things like that. Capital gains came into effect in 88, so not very old, very recent, 88 there. And FBT was quite before, 1993 or 94 FBT came. So the laws are well developed, I would say, and the lawyer profession is like America. We are not as litigious society like an American society, but we are there. As I said before, Australia is always 3-5 years behind America in everything, whether it's fashion or litigation or anything for that matter. And yep, we do have defamation laws and other laws, and we have cases coming up in this way. And but studying law is number one people aspire for, because you are paid really well. But a lot of slogging is there, really long, late hours and stuff like that. But lawyer profession pays really well. So some of the barristers, they charge $10,000 a day, $10,000 an hour. I'm talking about day, $10,000 an hour. So that's how expensive it is, but it's quite advanced. Law is quite advanced, and it's a good profession. And we have all the firms which are the world firms. We have the branches in Australia, so it's well developed legal system there.
What about cost of living and pricing for professional services?
Professional services.
Pricing for professional services and cost of living.
Pricing for professional services is it's relative to the cost of living, as I said, like now. So obviously, I wouldn't know what you guys charge here, but if you have a practice, a decent practice, you can as well earn the same what you would do as a management accountant or a finance manager or whatever it is. You can have that. So, well, put it this way. An average salary for a finance professional, that is finance manager and above, will be something like about 130,000, 140,000. That's a very good money. Good money, and live a very comfortable life there.
Per year.
Sorry?
Per year, $140,000 per annum.
Per annum. 140,000 per annum. So what is that in? It's 50 rupees per dollar. You can calculate there.
$10,000 per hour. No one matches with
$10,000.
that. $10,000 per hour for lawyers. Doesn't match.
Of course, I'm talking about a barrister. So, what is
It's not
that?
US dollar, it is Australian dollar.
Which
Very
is
less per year. Less charge. 15 rupees.
75% of US, yes. And people like Price Waterhouse and all would charge something like about $2,000 a day for an 8-hour job. So, and it is, the cost of living is not very high because Australia is very big in agriculture and dairy. We are the best in dairy in the world, so we export the milk and everything to other parts of the world. So dairy products or the cheese and everything is hugely available. And agriculture, I heard this saying that the pulses, the lentils are produced in Australia, exported to India, and then exported back to Australia, and then we buy that and eat it here. That's how it is there. And I went to a farm in Brisbane, And this guy came and told me that he showed me the tur dal and said, I don't know why Indians like these lentils, and I produce and send it to India. I have no idea what they'll find good in this, he said. So that's how it is there. Because of the good conditions there, tropical conditions there, they invest heavily in agriculture there. Agriculture is quite advanced there. Anything else?
Minimum wages?
Sorry?
Any minimum wages on employee?
Yes, there is minimum wages. Minimum wages is about $38,000 per annum. That's about $3,500 per month there. In Australia, we always talk of wages in the terms of annual, not things, and also total wages, which includes the superannuation concept, which is every employer is forced to give 9.5% of the salary and put it in a fund, which you can't touch it for the next 60 years. Only at the age of 65 you can touch it.
And what about personal income taxes or salary?
Very high. That's why. That's if you ask for the. Let me talk about the weak points in Australia. I said all the good points in Australia. The big one of the worst point is the taxation, and because we have to maintain a lifestyle like that, good roads, and good facilities and stuff like that. The top tax rate is 48%. So if you're earning more than, basically there is a threshold there as stages. So the top one is, so the average will be about 36-37%. So if you're earning more than 100,000, you'll be in the 35-36% category there.
What is the level of tax complaints? Are you good complaint or?
Now, very good, extremely good. I would rate it really good. Tax. In fact, to that extent, they are looking at a reform of not having tax at all, return at all. Because their argument is, why do we need a return for a salaried employee? Because the salaried employee cannot claim many deductions and things like that. So, just tax is deducted at source. So why do we want to have a tax return? So we're talking about 5 million salaried people. So one day they think they don't want to have tax return at all. These 5 million people don't have to file tax return. That will make the accounting profession into a bit of a problem now because each one have to file a tax return now.
But ideally they should not have tax. They have such rich
This is where it's coming to. No,
mines which they can
there are two things. Yes,
easily to the companies. Government will easily catch up this tax revenue.
correct. So we have the resources. That doesn't make you rich. So you have to take the resources out and then sell it to the world. Then only you can become rich. To take the resources out, you need people. We don't have the people. And if you need the people, if you have the people, then you have to do an infrastructure for the people. Like if you, for instance, if you have a flat apartment, you build an apartment. You can't build an apartment without at least 6 cars per car park there, minimum. So those are all the must things. Then it becomes expensive and things like that. So we need people, and if you have people, then we need infrastructure for that. Things like transport, railways, all those stuff.
Sources of money for the government can easily come from the wars actually.
But who is going to dig the hole?
See, there are corporates, right?
Yeah.
Whom we charge this
Correct.
mining. It's all the property of the government, right?
Yes, not property of the government. They buy it. They buy that land and they own the land. But the government gets royalty.
Yeah, whatever. So that itself would be a huge money if they tap it
It is.
rightly.
It is. But you have to maintain this kind of life now. Because the roads are, there's a 8-lane road between Sydney and Melbourne. And looks as polished as nice there. You can just close your eyes and then, like recently they ran a driverless car on that road without a problem, no accident, nothing happened. It went there straight. It's about 700 kilometers. So the roads are there, the beaches are there, you have to take care of all the stuff. And then the train system, And Melbourne, Sydney is the third busiest, second busiest airport flights in the world. So we have something like about 3,500 flights every week between Melbourne and Sydney.
Free transfer. Trunk service is free.
Yeah, tram is free. Within Melbourne, the tram services are free. So to maintain that lifestyle, it requires a lot of money. So either it comes, so that's why they have to tax it. So,
What's the per capita income actually?
sorry,
Per capita income?
about $26,000. $26,000.
$26,000.
It's quite high. I think it will be in the top 10 or something like that in the world.
So do the high taxes sort of eat into the quality of your life for a salaried person there? Or?
No, it doesn't. That's why I'm saying that I mean, you have poor people, but the other thing is the social side, social security. So if you don't have a job, now it's slightly changed now. Where about 10-15 years back, you have to wait for 4 weeks and then the government will pay you the money every week. And now I think you have to wait for 1 year or something without a job. Then the government will start paying money. But they put some rules saying that you have to attend interviews and stuff like that, otherwise people will be there. But people still try to beat the system. They just go for the interview and then say something and come back and then keep lying there and stuff like that. But that's only a very small population there. And so social security is a big drain on the exchequer. And then the infrastructure is the second main thing, which has a big impact on the thing. So they keep on constructing roads and roads and roads and roads, the heavy investment, and ports are all, and things like port and airports, other things we have to construct. And what else? Facilities for the tourism. So millions and millions comes to Australia for tourism, particularly to the Gold Coast and the beaches there. So, and the preservation of some places like Great Barrier Reef is one plus example. They spend something about $600 million every year for Great Barrier Reef. Great Barrier Reef is the one where you can see the corals. So if you go in the sea, you can look down, you can see the corals underneath. So they want to preserve that corals there. And so for that, you spend about $600 million every year. So that's why so many people come and they regulate the traffic in terms of so that they don't sort of go into this way. They bypass the corals and then go, because the corals are living organisms, they don't want to develop. And so now we have a big problem in Australia is the climate change. Adani mine has come to Australia. We have a huge problem in Adani mine. Then what happened was we have so many coal everywhere. Gautam Adani came and said, I'll dig your coal and take it to India. Which the Australian government said, yes, fine. Because Australia is also climate change big people that have signed up to the Kyoto Agreement. And they said, then the opposition, the Greens and all objected to that. They said coal is against the climate. So if you burn coal, it sort of gets the climate, it's a global warming thing. And so they have put enough conditions on the Adani mine now. There are about, he secured about 424 approvals. Still the project has not got up at all. All the banks said, no, we won't finance. He has so far spent about $3 billion in that project. And it's a $16 billion project, exporting 100 million tons of coal to India. And they're saying that even if you take the coal to India, the Indians will suffer, so we will not allow you to dig the coal. So, because against the global warming, so it is not that if you protect Australia alone, it's enough. We have to protect the world, not the Australia alone. So, he's struggling there. He's really struggling there. I'm sure he'll make up things in a different way, but there's a big opposition there for the poor. And so that's another problem we have in terms of power. And again, I have to tell you, everyone says politics-wise, essential services-wise, we have power problem in Australia, we have water problem in Australia, there is in Melbourne there is a water crisis, and so all these things comes because of climate change. 20 years back, there was water everywhere and everything. So the more people come, and the climate is becoming big. And the heat, like last time in Melbourne, for 4 days we had temperature of 47 degrees. We have never experienced so much temperature there in the summer. So all these things are happening, and because of that, they have put a lot of solar thing now, renewable energies now, and that's cost money. They have given subsidy for the renewable energies to use, and that costs money too. So, and I think this third of, after 10 years, the first time the government is going to show a surplus, a budget surplus. And that's mainly because the world market for iron ore and coal, the prices have gone up. So that's why, I mean, in one way you can say it's a bit lucky, but we have problems also. It's not that it's all nice and easy and stuff like that. So we have problems in terms of politicians. They make blunders, they mess up stuff, and one party came and said we want to construct some freeways, and they lost the election. The other party came and cancelled the freeway to the extent they have to pay compensation to the contractor for $1.5 billion without doing the work. So that sort of blunders keep happening also in, I mean, I'm sure US also is happening, you have seen that. So and yeah, I mean, we have issues, but the issues compared to the other side, if you weigh it, it's much better. Living style, lifestyle wise, it's much better there. So,
What is the GDP?
GDP growth wise, what average is 3%, but in terms of
Absolute figures.
I'm not sure.
Because we are talking about around $240 billion of tax collection. I mean,
Yeah.
based on the figures which you give me, just try to understand the relationship between the GDP and the tax collection. So how far
Well,
it matters?
if I say there is a surplus,
Because you said 25 million population and 26,000 is the per
Yeah,
capita
yeah.
income. And
So-
37% is the average tax rate. So if my maths is right, it should be around
No.
240 billion tax collection.
no, but income tax is not much, and as part of the revenue. That's not a big income. You have other taxes, so that's a bigger revenue tax. The royalties. Royalty is one of the biggest revenue for us from the iron ore exports, all the resource exports, and also we have things like stamp duty. For every house purchase, you pay 0.06% stamp duty on the house purchase and stuff like that. So we have other taxes. GST. GST is a big one. So income tax is only one of the revenue. It's not very high. So not sure what the GDP now in terms of absolute dollar now. Sorry. Any other questions? I think one thing is always good for anyone, for that matter, is to, if at all somebody would like to think about Australia, I think you should visit the country. And you'll have a very good picture of the country, because each state is very different, each city is very different. So Melbourne and Sydney are the premier cities, and Melbourne was for 7 times, last 7 years, is the most livable place in the world. They came number 1, and this year it was beaten by Vienna. So last 7 years, so The Economist, the magazine, they gave that title, and they take into account education, job, transport, lifestyle, everything. They got measures there, and consecutive 7 years they were the most livable city in the world. and sports, all the stuff, entertainment, events, all this stuff. Whereas in Adelaide, it's a beautiful city, but it's more for retired people. That's also not much happening in terms of life and events and stuff like that. And Perth for us is like another country because we have to travel for 4 hours to reach Perth, and there are only about 2 million populations, and they are 3 hours behind. So we consider Perth as a totally different city there. And so it's sort of widely spread population there. Whereas if you go to the Gold Coast, just retire, lie on the beach, and then keep in. So you earn all the money, and then spend the retirement like that. So that's where the Gold Coast is. So each city is very different, and so if it's on job prospects, the more opportunities are in Melbourne, Sydney. But if you want to settle in Melbourne, Sydney, it is expensive in terms of housing. The cost of living is wise, it's the same everywhere, but housing cost is very high in Melbourne and Sydney. And but opportunities are more. So people try to stay in Melbourne, Sydney, but they go to the outer suburbs and they have to travel 1 hour, 1.5 hours to come to work and stuff like that. So that's sort of thing that happened. What happened in the US, something similar. So best is to sort of visit the country and look at it as a thing. It is a laid-back lifestyle compared to US, I would say. Generally, there are people running up and down and stuff like that, but generally it's a laid-back lifestyle. So if you prefer a good lifestyle, don't like the cold, because winter is not as severe as the US or Canada or UK. And interest in sports, good education for the kids, tremendous education for the kids. Then you prefer Australia. Whereas if you want to advance in your career, be dynamic, going up and up and up, you want to earn a lot of money and things like that, obviously US is high because the opportunities are more there. But that's a totally different lifestyle. A US person, so many of my US friends have come to Australia, they can't live in Australia, and vice versa. The Australians cannot live in the US. They'll say it's a mad country, people running up and down, just like Bombay and Chennai, maybe, something similar to that. But yeah, the lifestyle-wise, it's really good, and all well developed and things like that. And now, especially for the Indians, when I went to Melbourne, there were only about 2 Indian restaurants. I'm a vegetarian. They have no idea what is vegetarian at the time. And absolutely, somebody asked me whether you eat only grass, to the extent they have no knowledge. And now in Melbourne alone, we have 250 Indian restaurants. And we have vegans, we have about 5 mosques, 6 gurdwaras, 11 temples. So you name it, we have. So now the Indian can easily adjust to he can live like an Indian almost, until he goes to the office, like where it'll be different. And cultural activities everywhere. Now, you can get all the Bollywood movies now, the same worldwide release there now. And the Indian teams keeps coming there and playing there now. So, but that's another thing. Bringing up your kids there is a sort of complex, because they live and be part of the Australian thing between 8 and 5. When they come home, they live like an Indian. So half the day they live like an Australian, half the life the Indian. So there's a bit of a conflict there. But having said that, my kids don't have a problem. A lot of kids don't have a problem with that. And so you can have the best of both worlds if you look at it from one angle. But there are a lot of cross marriages happen, like an Indian marrying an Australian person and vice versa and stuff like that, or Indian marrying a Greek, and or Chinese or Japanese or something like that. Those things happen. But generally, yeah, it is, to put it that, put it in a simple way, depends on what your priorities of moving to Australia, that's what. I've seen so many people who are chartered accountants, established, mid-30s, have one or two kids, live in Middle East, move to Australia, mainly for their kids' education and for their own career. The ideal place. So it ticks all the boxes for them. So they are in the mid-30s, chartered accountants, they work in a good firm in the Middle East or in India. So they can get a job there, the wife, the spouse also can get a job, and the kids get a good education, lifestyle is lovely. Yeah. Or it's an IT person, same thing. Alright, thanks very much. Yeah, one more question. Last.
India is booming right now. Would you advise somebody to move to Australia?
Good question. Well, first I should think about it, move back to India now. Again, that's why I'm coming back to this. So what is important for you? Is a lifestyle is important for you, or your career prospects and other things are more important for you, or your family ties and everything? That's what matters there. And so if you're a late 20s, early 30s, obviously you're in a different phase of life. So at that time, it's more career and future is important, or lifestyle is important. So you would move to Australia. That's the thing. But I've seen a lot of people moving back to India because of the so-called booming thing. But a lot of people stayed back because of their lifestyle. And also it depends on other people. Like for instance, if you ask me whether I'll move to India, it's maybe difficult because the system has changed totally. But do I love India? Yes, of course I love India. So it's a difficult thing. Once you move, I don't think you should come back. That's why you have to make a good decision now. What is important for you? If the family is important, but given that you will spend a lot of time, good quality time with your family in Australia, because hardly 95% of the people will not work on Saturdays, Sundays. So it's 2 good days you can enjoy, and good holidays come from there, and then people go out to the beach or whatever it is there. So lifestyle-wise, it's really good. Yeah. All right, thanks very much. Okay.
Thank you, Srinivasan sir. Yes, I was listening to a Australian consulate officer rather than a member. Right from a per capita income up to the number of clearances which the Adani group has to get for streamlining the coal mining project. It shows the command as a member. We are always proud about the reach and the knowledge base of our members. How far he has analyzed and involved in the economy. Rather, because he is involved in this insurance business as well as he was telling his present business of that showroom, diamond showrooms. He is having 120 showrooms throughout Australia. So which necessitates him to analyze each and every part of the Australia, their demographic characteristic and their income profiling, and what is the prosperity of that showroom getting established there. So very much impressed, sir, with your valuable thing, and I hope our members will spread whatever information you have gathered amongst our peers. How many of you know that the institute is having 2 memorandum of understandings with 2 Australian institutions? All of you know? All of you know? Because that CPE Australia as well as that Institute of Chartered Accountants of Australia and New Zealand the institute is having a MOU, so that you can fast track your settlement and your getting a locally recognized degree. Obviously, there are certain conditions which are posted in the website. So you may post these details in your WhatsApp group and email. Thank you so much once again, sir, for your valuable sparing your time. And I request our Krishnamurthy sir to come forward to present a small piece of memento as a token of our love and respect. Thank you so much for joining this program. We'll meet you in our next program. Thank you. Thank you so much.